Hello, good evening, everybody. Happy Labor Day or No Labor Day 2021. Happy No Labor Day 2021. I'm your host for this empowerment segment, Brother Ron, also known as R2C2H2 Artivist, and this is the We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. News Free Dixie for the 21st century. It's your brother, Brother Ron. What's the word from Brother Herb? I know y'all want to listen to good old Judge O. Brown. He's come on his way. Get down with Judge Brown. Get down with Judge Joe Brown. So just going to check, see everything. I hope y'all can hear me loud and clearly. And we love you, madly. Let me see. Want to check on my end how everything is coming out. Put some sauce in your mouth. Put some self in your mouth. Just trying to check, make sure everything is working clearly. Looks good so far. So far, looks good. Let me see if I can hear myself. Yeah, I can hear myself. Okay, so if you don't know, now you know. So we're going to have Judge Joe Brown on the show with the flow. And, if y'all follow Brother Ron, y'all know that we have a special event coming up in the M-Town, the city of Good Abode, with the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. I'll be sharing a panel with him. Let me put up that information on that. This is BBQing with the judge, baby. So good, baby, baby. We got a special event coming up. Yeah, the Ancestors Soul Series. That's the Ancestors. I call them stars, but it's Soul Series, right? Shout out to Brother Reginald for making that happen, connecting him with the judge. You got a great panel discussion. If you are in Memphis on September 19th, y'all should come on down. Come on in. It is free. They are taking donations. Doors open at 4 p.m. It's going to be Sunday, September the 19th. Do you remember that day in September 19th, 2021? Doors open 4 p.m. Central Time or Memphis time, and event starts at 5 p.m. Central. We got for entertainment, Devin Crutcher, Trinity, Tamara Felix, and Ekpe. Now, Devin Crutcher is a great crooner. He's a crooner like no other. A soul crooner. Not familiar with Trinity Tamara, but I do know Brother Ekpe. Ekpe Abioto is a master musician. He's a Memphite, master musician, griot extraordinaire, brilliant guy. I had the pleasure of working with him several times, and he was like our 2018 Jimmy Lunch for Demery Festival Homecoming Court King. He had a chance to perform with the Sun Ra Orchestra when they did their first time performing with the orchestra, the Sun Ra. Space is the place. They did their first concert in Memphis history during the Jimmy Lunch for Demery Festival week. We collaborated with the Mike Curb Institute at Rose College, brought down Sun Ra Orchestra, and Brother Ekpe set in, and it was a night to remember in October of 2018. So the host or the moderator is Michael Adrian Davis Sr., very popular media personality in M-Town in Memphis in the city of Good Abode. So we're going to have the Honorable Judge Joe Brown, Sister Naya Now, Brother Dr. Warren Harper, Brother Mike Todd or Tood. Oh, I found out some Brother Dr. Jeffrey Futtrell. And your brother Ron, gonna be there, and sister Dr. Carnita Atwater, who is currently running for governor of Tennessee. I think she's the first Black woman in the history of the state of Tennessee to run for governor. So it's gonna be an amazing time. So that's September 19th. I believe that is a Sunday kind of love. Okay. Sunday kind of love. So I think it's Sunday, September 19th. Let me see what today's date is. 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. So y'all want to check that out. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, scholars and laymen, I bring to you the one and only, the brother like no other, Judgment Time. Stars, barbecuing with the judge, Man Up Labor Day Monday, the one and only, the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. How you doing, sir?
How you doing, young brother?
I'm still alive, man. Log
All right, good sir.
timeline. I'm good. There's so many people dying right now. It's crazy.
Well, I'm trying not to.
I'm glad you're not. I'm glad you're not. It's good to see you. How you doing? How you feeling?
Well, I'm better. Haven't quite recovered, but I'm better. Lost 50 pounds, so
Wow,
back fighting trim.
that's good. So you got a trip. You got your fighting weight, huh? You got fighting weight. Okay, that's good. That's good to see you, man. But there's so much going on, and people always ask me, "Oh, Judge Joe Brown thinking about," and they be sending their well wishes. Hope you get better real soon, because people really miss your voice right now, and just miss your presence and your, I don't give a damn attitude. I'm gonna tell it like it is, and they need it right now. They need that good
Well,
old
I've got
jabbing.
a sore throat, but I'm doing what I can do. It'll hold up for a little bit.
Okay, well, I ain't gonna press you too much, but this is your spot. But I want to ask you about Joe Biden's pullout game. What do you think about how would you rate his pullout game? You know what I'm
It
saying?
is one of the most disgraceful examples of ineffective, incompetent foreign policy episodes in the country's history. For 20 years, we have effectively come out on top, gotten to the point where you can walk out of that. And it's diplomatically important because a lot of stuff that folk enjoy around this country, they don't realize what has to be gone through to get it.
Mm-hmm.
We could say we won. Now we look like we got our ass kicked because this fool didn't know how to handle it. His main strategy that isn't even being discussed in the news is that he was going to pull a nuclear aircraft carrier out that was lurking around the South China Sea to keep things kind of in order, that were coming along on top of what Trump did about, this is your biggest market, the United States. You keep doing what you're doing, you're going to lose a lot of that market. Your people won't like it. And you need to back off of this claim that you control the whole South China Sea, which includes all the territorial waters of Vietnam, Korea, the whole west coast of Japan, the northeast of the Philippines, including the U.S. naval base there. You can't do it. So what happens is Biden is going to send this nuclear aircraft carrier down to patrol off the coast and 2-hour flight away from Afghanistan, try to control it when you needed boots on the ground and some backup that even neglected to get taken care of relative to setting up the Afghani who were going to take over. The Afghani don't like the Taliban to a great extent. See, the Taliban is the reflection of some sinful behavior by the United States, Great Britain, and France. Mm-hmm. The United States actually got free of Britain as a colony because of what brought Afghanistan into existence. The English, the Americans, the Boston Tea Party and all that mess kind of got a liking for tea. And one of the last effective emperors of China back in the late 18th century decreed that you could not buy tea except by use of gold bullion. So England went bankrupt, which is one of the reasons the American colonies were able to get free when they did. The English and the American colonies and the French liked tea, and what they came up with was to use northern India, which is now Afghanistan, to grow opium. And they would grow and refine the opium. They'd take the opium by fast ship to China, trade it for gold, and then trade the gold right back for tea. The Flying Cloud, Cutty Sark, all of these famous clipper ships, what they did was trade opium to China and tea to England and America. For 2 centuries, the U.S., England, and France, and then Japan got involved in it. They would prop up this, that, and the other drug lord, and when one got too big, they would undercut him and get him assassinated. prop up another one until in the 20th century, late mid 20th century, nobody could be in control, and they wound up getting a coalition. The Soviets went down there, they couldn't prevail. We went right back in there, and there's a great deal to be said about that, because that whole thing with Stinger missiles for money to deal with the Iran Contra situation, which was against the law. And Reagan signed 3 executive orders, it turned out, which would have put him in square into impeachment territory and in jail if he didn't get pardoned. But in any event, it is what it is. So bin Laden did the trade between the money and the Stinger missiles and all of that, most of which is still unaccounted for. And they apparently tried to assassinate bin Laden, which led to 9/11 and Al Qaeda. Our thing is have somebody act as a friend, help you out, and then when he gets inconvenient, get rid of him. So that led up to now. The U.S. had to deal with the Taliban, and in the meanwhile, Halliburton, which is a Bush family enterprise, was trying to get the rights to exploit Iraqi oil, which they didn't get because the Iraqis signed a treaty with the French and the Russians. Mm-hmm. That led to that preposterous farce of weapons of mass destruction, which was just a lie so we could get in there. And in 2007, Halliburton wound up without bid getting the rights to exploit Iraqi oil. And I think within 6 months, they were netting 2.3 million every 7 hours. So before we got into it in Iraq in 2003, we got into the shoot 'em up bit in Afghanistan in late 2001. Now, before that, as witnessed by what happened in May 2001, the Bush administration gave $45 million in military aid to the Taliban, trying to bribe a way for Halliburton to get pipeline rights. The place still isn't stable enough for that to happen, so here we are loop-de-loop. The Bush family enterprise, started by Bush and Walker, that's George Herbert Walker, who refounded Halliburton in 1946 in Oklahoma, is Uncle Herbie to President George Herbert Walker Bush, and great Uncle Herbie to President George Walker Bush, who also did a lot of business along with Daddy George Herbert Walker Bush with Lolo Soetoro, who is the adopted father of Barack Obama, aka Barry Soetoro. Barry Soetoro's mother, or Barry Soetoro through his mama, is a cousin of the Bushes, also of Dick Cheney and a few other people.
Now, this is interesting because it works on both sides. Because you were talking about the opioid, American getting involved in that. I know, December 7th marks the 80th anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attack, which led to World War II. And some people believe that Franklin Roosevelt wanted us to get involved in World War II because his grandfather, Warren Delano Jr., made the family fortune, his maternal grandfather, by selling opium to the Chinese. And he tried to get back control of the Golden Triangle. That's what some people think.
All of the above. Mm-hmm. And there is some evidence in writing, some things have been released as declassified from the Pentagon, and it shows that he was trying to set the stage for something like Pearl Harbor to attack. His motive was not necessarily trade, but to get the United States into the position of being a world power and also come to England's rescue. Now, that said, there's another interesting thing about September 11th on 1. It happened September 11th, 1941. Guess what?
What?
They started building the Pentagon September 1st, 1941. So 60 years later exactly, they have 911.
That's fascinating, Judge. You know what's interesting too? People could learn I remember looking at Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11, and it showed back in 1999 that George W. Bush, the Jr., when he was governor of Texas, he invited the Taliban as VIPs to the state of Texas. This is 2 years before September 11th. So they really were our allies at one point. Even like you look at the movie Charlie Wilson's War,
Yeah.
with that representative from Texas, he was funding that war in Afghanistan against the Russians. They were funding Bin Laden.
Well,
These U.S.
Bush, on his
politicians
own
doing that.
executive order, May 2001, awarded $45 million in military aid directly to the Taliban.
Okay. So how are they our enemies when they? You think about even Pearl Harbor, right? You know, Emerald Yamamoto, who was the mastermind behind Pearl Harbor, he went to Harvard University. We taught him how to fly planes over here.
Yeah.
That's Emerald Yamamoto.
You want to know what it's about? See, everybody gets, most ordinary people get emotional.
Uh-huh.
At the top, it ain't about emotion. Remember The Godfather?
Yeah.
Part 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want you to tell Michael it was nothing personal. It was just business.
Right. So what is war? So war is not about freedom and liberty. It's about business.
It can be freedom and liberty. It can be
Okay.
about principle. It's about who gets to run stuff and how they get to run it.
But like from I believe from 1926 to 73, Afghanistan was not a problem, right? Was it a problem
No,
as
it
far as
was a
geopolitical?
drug-infested hellhole.
But the
It
Taliban
was
suppressed
still
that
part
though.
of India.
Well, I mean, the Taliban was helping suppress the drug trade. It was stopping the poppy fields from growing, right? At
That's
one
because
point.
they got paid for a while.
So my thing is the biggest drug traffickers and dealers to me is the CIA.
United States government.
Okay.
By the way, some documents released after the end of the hostilities between China and the U.S. revealed that one of the reasons that Mao ordered the People's Republic to invade and assist North Korea was because the United States, as of 1950, 1949, still had an agreement with Chiang Kai-shek, who led the nationalist Chinese that wound up having to flee to Taiwan. We had an agreement with them that we would try to put them back in power and they would let us continue to smuggle opium in and trade for tea. That's 1949, and Mao's specific writings said any people that would cause this filthy trade in this horrible drug causing the ruination of so many human lives is not fit to govern or control people. That's one of his stated reasons for getting involved in North Korea versus South Korea, U.S. versus the Com Block.
It's just weird. I'm listening to you say all this. I'm thinking about, I believe that the Office of Strategic Services became the CIA in 1947. Is that correct?
Yes, it did. And the Office of Strategic Service was particularly incompetent. They had a bunch of unstreetwise little born with a silver spoon up their butt types who had traveled widely in Europe and spoke multiple languages because they came from that kind of home background, and they set up the OSS. For example, they lost damn near every agent they tried to parachute into Germany because they were already infiltrated and set up. One of the dumbest things caused a series of U.S. naval defeats, disasters off of Guadalcanal in the early part of World War II because they decided to break into the Japanese embassy or consulate in Casablanca, and instead of just photographing the thing and leaving it, they took it. So the Japanese wound up reforming and revising all of their codes in time for Guadalcanal, and at that point, radar didn't work as well as it eventually did. The people that used it hadn't been acclimated to using it. The Japanese had some very, very good optical instruments that worked very, very well after dark, and their eyeball-focused lookouts could usually detect American warships further than American warships could detect Japanese warships by radar. And then there are disasters like Iron Bottom Sound, which is passage through the Canal Islands, and the U.S. lost four heavy cruisers, 3 light cruisers, and 6 destroyers one night when the Japanese Navy sank them all. It took the U.S. a long time to learn how to fight at night. They never practiced that way, but the Japanese did. And the Americans had been relying, on having deciphered the Japanese code books right in that era when Pearl Harbor's occurring for a while up to there. And then midway, they held the Japanese because they knew what the Japanese were going to do. But then these idiots in the OSS went and stole the code book from a Japanese consulate in Casablanca, and the Japanese changed the code books, and the U.S. had to fight it the hard way without having the advantage of breaking the code. They got shot up.
I'm thinking about, World War II is an interesting topic to talk about always. So many different narratives and angles. I want to get your assessment. You think General George Patton was right when he said we should have took the Nazis or Germans and took on the Russians? So we had taken on the Russians with the help of the Germans or the Nazis?
There was one little problem.
Okay.
You couldn't use the atomic bomb because Stalin already knew how to defeat it. The atomic bombs up until 1950-something were set off by a radio signal. Stalin had already acquired all of the usable codes, and what he had set up was a tentative broadcast system to broadcast all the codes very strongly. So if an American bombing attack with a nuke occurred, as soon as they turned the bomb on, it'd blow up. They couldn't use it. Next thing, there's this thing called the T-34 and the IS-2. Joseph Stalin 2, a heavy tank with a 122 millimeter gun on it and massive frontal armor. And the T-34 with an 85 that they had plenty of. And America, meanwhile, had a bunch of Shermans that weren't worth crap. And just came up with a new tank, the M26, of which they had 200. There was no way in the hell they could take on the Russian army or the Soviet army, even though they seemed to have had a better Air Force, but the Soviets were in a position to make that unworkable. Plus, the Soviets had like 400 some divisions. We had 27.
And Stalin didn't care about people dying.
He didn't care about folks dying. See, he was focused on, we're going to make the Soviet Union great. So first thing, we got to get rid of all the riffraff. That's like, okay, we have problems with idiots shooting up the hood in Memphis. So let's go get them, put them in the gulag, turn them into slave labor, or put them into a cannon fodder division and get them shot up. Or hell, just put them on the wall and shoot them.
So let me ask you this: do we need people like the Stalins, like the strong men? Do we need strong men in a world like this, as far as geopolitics are concerned?
We have a calendar. What day is it?
Monday.
What month of the year?
September.
Where did the calendar come from?
It come from Rome, Roman calendar, or Russia?
Caesar.
Okay.
Julius Caesar's calendar.
That's right.
Helped write it.
So let me ask you this: if you was president, how would you have handled the Afghanistan pullout? Or would it have been a pullout? Or would we have been there in the first place?
Wouldn't have been time to pull out. You needed to do some things with the ground troops. You needed to acclimate them into using that equipment that we just abandoned to somebody to go inspect. See,
but man, you remember
fire control systems there that we really don't need to have in somebody else's hands. We've got some drone control equipment there we definitely don't need in somebody else's hands. We've got lots of night fighting equipment that we left. They didn't even get that out first.
But you know, my thing is this though. I really don't believe they left that by accident because I
They
remember. You remember
did.
General Petraeus?
This group left it by stupidity.
But
It
you don't
wasn't
think
even an
they?
accident. See,
Well,
look,
you know why I'm
Biden,
putting.
Biden
Mm-hmm.
has never been on top of foreign policy. He's been a domestic hack from what is essentially the smallest state in the United States, Delaware. See, they run con games because where they come from, Delaware, is a state controlled by DuPont. They
Mm-hmm.
buy, sell, and trade people in politics in Delaware. Biden got bought long ago and he got
Mm-hmm.
into this Dixiecrat crap. He got sidelined. He got moved up when they were trying to find an alternative because the rest of them were so sorry. They lack experience. They don't have military backgrounds. They don't have diplomatic backgrounds. And they throw into the fray with no experience. They are not scholarly. They don't read a lot. They're idiots. They happen to be convenient hacks. And that's what you've got with Biden. Kamala Harris has no diplomacy in her background. She knows nothing about military. She knows nothing about technology. Biden knows nothing about technology. He's a damn petty crook. They understand that, but dealing with China, it's like, what the hell are you doing? From day one, you damn fool, you're trying to get some penny ante chump change for your family. And you are screwing everybody else because you're too stupid to realize what you've done. Kamala Harris is as bad. She's been a party girl who fucked her way to the top. And she still doesn't understand crap because she never dealt with it. She
Well,
screwed her
actually,
way into her jobs and to her politics. Or she gave people a whiff of the nookie so that they paid attention. And when she walked into the courtroom, from my California sources, she'd keep hiking her hemline up during the trial, trying to impress the jurors and the judge. See,
well,
that's not
actually,
somebody that will effectively deal with what's out there. Biden never has been capable of dealing with what's out there. He's a domestic hack from the smallest state in the United States of America.
well, man, actually, this you think the Clinton administration set the bar for all this to happen? They set the table for all this going on right now, 20-something years later, on Bill
Mm-mm,
Clinton's watch.
mm-mm. See, Clinton is a smart man.
Mm-hmm.
I heard rumors that he'd worked the New York Times crossword puzzle while some woman was giving him a head job. The actual fact is he was known to work the New York Times crossword puzzle between the White House and Camp David in the helicopter ride, which is just a few minutes. Clinton is a brilliant man. I saw him do this. It's 1981, and it's down here, Jonesboro, Arkansas. They put together a voting rights thing, and they were meeting at a synagogue. It was agricultural workers, which was basically Hispanic, Jewish
Mm-hmm.
Defense League, NAACP, and some other folk. And they were meeting down here, and these Klansmen, KKK types, were riding by in flatbed trucks with shotguns and rifles trying to intimidate everybody with a loud hailer. So the people he asked me to go down there and be a legal advisor. So I went down there. And the question was, what are we going to do about this situation? This is intimidating a lot of people. So they said, why don't we call this young governor? He's an all right guy.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard of him, but it was Bill Clinton. All right. Well, Bill Clinton was a big dude, man. I mean, back
Mm-hmm.
then, he did 5 terms, 20 some years with a 4-year hiatus between one term and another. And Clinton's like 6'7", man, 6'6". I mean, this dude was buffed out. So he came down there with his state police in
Mm-hmm.
3 cars. So he's talking to everybody outside of the synagogue. So
Mm-hmm.
somebody's across the street with a loud healer with this group with a lot of shotguns and everything around. So Clinton told his security to go inside the synagogue. They basically said, hell no, Governor. He said, well, I'll tell you what, if you don't get your ass in there, you'll see civil service on Monday because I'm firing you today. So they went in there and he turned to me and this other guy. He probably wouldn't remember me from anything now because I had a big beard then and an afro, and
Mm-hmm.
And one of the black preachers said, well, what are we going to do? Well, he said, no prayer. Take some action. He said, can you hold my coat? Took his coat off, preacher held it, and I said, I got your back. This Jewish Defense League guys, I got your back. We walked across the street. Clinton knocked the bullhorn out of this guy's hand that had it, snatched this dude by the lapels, yanked him up on the ground, rammed him on this wall of this building, held him up there with one hand with his feet about this high off the ground, reached in his back pocket, got his wallet out, flipped it open, looked at his driver's license apparently, put it back in the pocket, said, look, son of a bitch, your name is so-and-so, you live at such and such address, your driver's license number is such and such, and I'm coming to kick your ass personally if anybody comes out here and fucks with my constituents any goddamn more. Do I make myself clear? And he let this dude down, backhanded him, and knocked him all the way to the ground. He did a block up on one guy with a Remington 870, 12 gauge, 18-inch barrel, switched it around, butt stroked the dude with it, butt stroked another dude, cracked the butt, punched out 7 or 8 folk, went down the sidewalk, knocked about 6 or 7 people to the ground with one blow. I said, damn, this dude is a badass. I have never had any problems since then with that man's intelligence. He memorized that goddamn driver's license number, address, name, and date of birth of that MF. First read under stressful conditions. This is a smart dude.
Well, I mean, I'll give you that. Clinton's a very likable guy, man. He's very likable.
He's smart too.
He's a smart guy, but I'm saying in terms of his policies, though, like the 3 strikes and men in welfare and the NAFTA thing. You don't think they sit at the table when we're going on right now as Republic?
See what happens.
Mm-hmm.
He had the wrong advisors.
Okay.
Half of doing what you do as a president is having a right advisory staff. And see, a lot of people that come from a local background, they know how politics works because all politics is local. And the most vicious politics is local.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have familiarity with what else is going on around and about you.
Yes, sir. That makes a lot of sense. But Joe Biden was part of his team. I mean, as far as Joe Biden was a senator during that time.
But Joe Biden was a hack. He was trying to give domestic advisement on Southern politics.
Mm-hmm.
See, where he's from, that's part of the South. They held slaves. He used to brag about that.
Well, it actually is about, his thing about calling Cedric Richmond a boy. Now, he could have said, but you remember what George W. Bush said? You're doing a heck of a job, Brownie. You could call him Brownie. Maybe got away with it. But why do black people defend this person? I ain't saying all black folks, certain types of black people that's defending all his type of bad behavior.
Won't walk through the plantation gate that is not locked. See, the Democrats were founded in the early part of the 19th century to spread slavery. Republicans were chartered in 1851 to end slavery.
Mm-hmm.
They drifted. They got co-opted by big business. But that's not surprising since the agrarian South was not focused on industry, but on agriculture. But the Negroes find that they are very receptive to the plantation party. And they vote because they've been conditioned to vote for massa.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't get anything. And they don't understand politics because we had a different dynamic. See, up until the late 1940s, thanks to Harry Truman, and then before that, Mrs. Roosevelt, Eleanor Roosevelt, nobody expressed a liking for Negroes since the Lincoln era had expressed. So here was Harry Truman in 1947. He went and spoke to the NAACP convention, and he lost votes behind it, almost lost the election. 1947, with the backing of Prescott Bush, that's George Herbert Walker Bush's daddy, he signed Executive Order 1981, which integrated the armed services. Mm-hmm. They were telling him that Negroes couldn't handle complex machinery, and you know what he threw at them? He said in 1946, these Negroes in the 332nd just won red flag. What's that? That's the United States Army Air Force fighter competition. Now, you tell me these Negroes can't handle complex machinery and they just won the contest overwhelmingly, and you people wouldn't even let them in the casino to give them their award? That was 1946. 1947, they won it again. Still couldn't get their trophy. He said, they beat you. These Negroes have beat us white boys 2 years running. What the hell are you talking about? If they can fly P-51s and P-47s and P-80s, they can do any goddamn thing. And what about the 761st Armored Regiment? I've got all kinds of stacks for awards here that have not been awarded, and they seem to be one of the most heroic tank outfits that you had. So what is it? And when you finally, I ordered them to be admitted to this special firefighting unit, they jump out of airplanes real good too. You can let them fight with the 761st with a Sherman tank, but then you say they can't fight once they jump out of the airplanes unless they're fighting fires? Seems to me it's scarier about getting burned up than getting shot. One seems to be less painful than the other. So he did that kind of thing. And see, when black folk were getting stuff where we are your friends, nobody else has been saying that for the lifetime of the people that are around for the most part, except they get as old as I am now. So that counted when Kennedy in 1960, when he ran against Nixon, and black folk were going for Nixon. Mm-hmm. But they went for Kennedy when Kennedy just had sense enough to say, look, I'm going to call down there and say, treat King and this bunch, you know, don't ram them around. We might wind up being attorney general and president. Right. So treat these Negroes with respect. We're trying to recruit them, by the way. So it worked. So since then, we have moved to a position where we don't need somebody to express friendship. We can have folk call us all kinds of MFs and everything else as long as they do what's necessary. Plus, when you're fighting somebody, remember, it ain't personal. There is a goal. And by the way, if you want to see how politics works, set yourself aside a few lunch periods and go down to the Memphis Zoo and watch the baboons and the chimps. You'll see politics in action. If you watch them long enough, it'll trip you out. You can see them doing favors for each other, cheating, you know, giving somebody something on the slide, trying to set up allies. Like, damn, these dudes look like our local elected officials in Memphis. In fact, they act like they're smarter than most of them. By the way, I am running for mayor of this town in 2023. And I promise you, I'm going to restore this place to some dignity, and it's going to become the Chicago of the 21st century, because I don't think small. And I'm smarter than damn near everybody that thinks about running for office in this town. Have more experience. I have stuck my nose in more stuff than they've even gotten curious about. So unlike Biden and Harris and some other buffoons that we're seeing a lot of now, I do have some smattering of knowledge about a lot of things that are necessary to actually running in the office besides trying to be slick. And I also have an idea of some better advisors than these folk pick, who are some rookie crooks.
Mm.
And, you know, I was always fair. I wasn't trying to just be a judge. I was trying to be a village chieftain. And if you're the chieftain, you have to judge your population, because sometimes some of them get out of line. And I tried to avoid giving time when it was beneficial, but sometimes you had to do it. And I could get real cold-blooded about it. I'd give them a chance to redeem themselves, if possible, if they didn't do something too awful.
Mm.
But sometimes it was, Judge, I can't do that much time. Son, just do the best you can. Now get your ass in there and go do what you knew you were going to get if you got caught. You shouldn't have done it. Plus, you weren't playing Robin Hood. You were ripping off your neighborhood. And that's what we have right now. Instead of playing Robin Hood, we're getting the neighborhood ripped off.
Mm.
And that includes everybody from city council all the way up to President of the United States of America. There are some good people, but a whole lot that aren't. And the ones that aren't have been overlooked, glorified, distinguished, and influenced and encouraged, because they can steal, embezzle, mess up, screw up, destroy through ignorance, downright incompetence, as long as they're pushing the 4 B's, 6 B's.
Mm-hmm.
Unbuckle, drop your britches, drop your boxers, bend over, get butt cheek spread and banged. Or you can be a pip, pussy eating pussy.
And what better way to do that is with your special barbecue sauce?
No, we don't play that.
You don't play
It doesn't have an affinity to those things. We need good, healthy, roasted, slow cooked meat.
I placed my order. I'm looking forward to trying it, Judge. Got me 3 bottles, and I know people in
Yeah,
the chat be
that's
talking about your
packed.
barbecue sauce.
We will have chicken links, and they're being packed by the only certified by FDA black packing plant in California.
Mm-hmm.
We will have this, what do you call it, Beyond Meat links. We have seasonings, powders. We'll be out with extra spicy and a hot. You're getting the OG stuff now.
Okay.
And we have recipes and some videos that are coming out about how to use that stuff and cook with it. Show you how to cook. We will have a line of barbecue pits and things you can get that you can use depending upon where you live: charcoal, wood, gas, electricity. And you can put it on and leave it, come back hours later like a slow cooker. No boiling, anything like that. Real cooked meat. Show you how to peel ribs and stuff like that. If you know
Okay, Jock.
what peeling ribs are, then you know about barbecue.
Yes, sir. And speaking of some California love, somebody got a great question. Bald-headed Jamaican. He wants to know, what's Judge's thought on Larry Elder running for governor in California? Thank you, brother.
I know
Bald-headed
him.
Jamaican.
Good luck to him. By the way, if you ever have a chance to talk to him,
Mm-hmm.
don't talk politics.
Say, don't talk politics.
Don't talk politics. Talk about black men in the family.
Okay.
He'll surprise you.
I know I seen this.
Really surprise you.
Yeah, I saw this Uncle Tom documentary. I think on Amazon Prime. He was in it. He was featured. I don't have no problem with Larry Elder. I don't. A lot of folks get, some of us in the black so-called black community have a problem with difference of opinions and unpopular points of view. And I think that a broke clock is right twice a day, so everybody can make a valid point.
That's about right. And the other thing is too, what he's been saying, the way I take it, last discussion I had with him, he was on a show I had for a short time, was this.
Mm-hmm.
If you want something from this political process, have something to sell. And if you are so into hating one party that has not been given the opportunity to offer you something, you are cutting down your options. So it's up to you to make the first step.
I think right now,
if the group doesn't vote, why bother with them? If the group can be counted on to vote come hell or high water for a certain non-functional or non-useful entity, then why even worry about them? They're too stupid to bother with.
My thing is,
black folk gotten in the last, what have we gotten? Let's see, 8 years for Obama Tang boy, Bush Bunny. Well, okay, let's say 8 years for Bush boy. Okay. 8 years for Bush Bunny, that's 16. Add 4 for, but he was actually giving us some things, but we didn't appreciate it. 4 on top of the 16, that's 20 when you put Trump in there. And now we've got 2 years of jackass and super slut. So we've got 22 years. What have black folk gotten out of the 22 years except some few things for 4 years that they didn't even want? What have we got?
This Afghanistan thing is troubling to me because I remember 5 years ago, I went to Dearborn, Michigan, and they called that place Iraqi town, because the first Gulf War, all them Iraqis came over to Michigan, to Dearborn, outside Detroit. And when I went there, it was troubling because you got all these big, nice mansions and exotic cars and businesses owned by Iraqis. They're Iraqi Americans. But I think you go to Detroit, do any black person from Detroit owns a gas station? But right outside of Detroit, you got this Dearborn. They'll create a Iraqi town or an Afghan town before they create another Black Wall Street, or before they allow Black Wall Street to exist. So I don't feel sorry for these Afghans, because you've been telling us for the last 20 years these are our enemies, but yet you got homeless veterans with mental problems living in the same neighborhood where these folks gonna come over and run.
Well, see,
we're gonna be working for them. They'll be our bosses.
You know what the rationalization is?
What?
They paid for it.
Oh my God.
They let us put them on the line, so we owe them. By the way, what have you black folk done?
We helped build. We fought in every war and built this country and gave y'all cultural identity.
What did we do? Who's run those wars since Colin Powell was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? Did the old Bush Bunny, Bush boy know anything about it? Bush Bunny? No.
But Colin Powell, he helped sell this Iraqi stuff. They use him to sell that to the UN.
Well, he says he got lied to. Bush gave him an assurance as his commander-in-chief that what he was saying was true.
Mm-hmm. Turned
out not to be.
They're going to be part of his legacy, though. That's the part of his obituary, though. In the New York Times, they're going to have to talk about his being involved in this disaster.
A man who, his obituary ought to be a man of honor who was dishonored by his commander-in-chief.
Because we never should have been over there, Judge. We had no business over there now.
Of course not.
Before then. Before we left.
Of course not. But you see, we don't pay attention to such things in the United States because that would require somebody to do a little background research on their own, because it's not carried in the news accurately nor in depth. And it is not part of an adventure movie where you have G.I. Joe and the equivalent doing something on a video game.
But you know, Judge, I was talking about General Petraeus. Like he was over there. I think it was Afghanistan, and you know he was the
Petraeus
director.
doesn't impress me as the brightest bulb in the
Well, he was
bunch.
director of CIA. He got involved in that sex scandal.
He
I think on
doesn't
sex scandal.
impress me as the brightest bulb in the bunch.
But I know, but they left weapons over there back then. And I think they no, you know when Trump
Yes,
said they
but
created
he
ISIS.
never impressed me as the brightest bulb in
But
the
is that by
bunch.
design? I'm asking you, Judge. Are they doing it on
And
purpose?
he
It's not
was
by accident.
under Bush Bunny, and he was under Bush Boy.
But are they bumbling on purpose? Like, is this all by design? It's not
No,
no
they just don't
mistake.
know. They
Okay.
don't know. That was
Okay.
not what they studied.
I mean, why is it that people that don't know what the hell they're doing always put in charge of very important stuff?
Because they're well connected.
And they're
See,
easy
the
to
real
control
deal
too, right?
about influence is not who you know, it's what you do to cause other people to know you.
Right.
So most of the people recently that have been put in place are because they are pushing the LGBTQ cult, the rainbow cult, or they're making it easy for others to steal, embezzle, cheat, whatever it may be. And you see, we're getting our character screwed by the LGBTQ cult. I'm not saying go out and grab somebody because they're gay. You know, what you do in your bedroom is your own damn business. And what you do discreetly is your own damn business. We don't put on bedroom displays out in the public unless you're the hippo Lizzo who gets down on the floor of the Staples Center with her bare ass out twerking. Contrast that to the wardrobe malfunction Janet Jackson has. Now we even have that woman going around talking about she doesn't use deodorant anymore. Oh man, you got to add funky to the list of faux pas that you have.
You know, it's a shame because she's actually got musical talents. You know what I'm saying? Like we focus on this BS, and she's actually talented musically, in my opinion. But she's allowing this to take over her talent.
Yeah, no more musical talent than a whole lot of other folk does, and she's got a lot less character.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. It says a lot. What about little Nas X and him? Is this over for black men? Is the hetero black man about to go extinct?
No.
Hetero, like, you know, strong black
because if the
pride,
hetero
man.
black man goes
Straight pride.
extinct, the hetero black man goes extinct, so do black people. If the hetero white man goes extinct, so do white people. If the hetero yellow man goes extinct, so do yellow people.
But why do black women believe that's not true? We got these strong black women. They're gonna be the
Because
boss of everything.
They are foolish. That's like these idiots in incel that want to kill all women because they can't get laid. Right. It's their fault they're not getting laid. It's their fault because there are more male virgins 25 and under than there are female virgins. Of course, they don't want to blame the mamas for raising them so incompetently and picking a daddy to go get knocked up by who didn't know what he was doing. And I said this before. Anytime you see a human, what are you looking at?
A successful FUCK.
That's hello. Right. A successful, yeah. So what it is somebody gets fucked, somebody gets born, somebody gets raised, somebody gets mature, somebody courts, somebody fucks, somebody gets born, somebody gets raised. It's a never-ending cycle. And if you are outside of that cycle, then you're outside of Mother Nature.
But what they say about it reminds me of good times where they didn't want the father James around, but the most revolutionary things be said by the effeminate son Michael. Like they'll tolerate James Baldwin, but they don't want Malcolm X around.
By the way, being out of law school when that series came on, I couldn't stand it. It used to make me vomit to watch 5 minutes of it. And that JJ,
right.
The father, the brother did not impress me badly. I just said, they're holding him down. I know what they're doing. And that's what he came out years later and said was happening.
They ain't want him on there, though. They ain't want no father character on there.
No, the rest of that?
Yeah.
No, and see, we owe Bill Cosby a debt of gratitude of having undone that bullshit.
But some people think that Bill Cosby, that's not realistic. That's not a realistic portrayal of black people, of the black
What do you mean
family.
it's not?
I
That's
know
how
black folks
most
that
of the
got that
people
type
I
of
knew
stuff. Yeah,
grew up. Maybe your daddy and mama weren't that high up on the financial scale, but
right.
that's how you grew up.
But you got black elites like that. You got some black elite families from back in the day. They had
Yeah,
that type of setup.
some were elites, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody kind of grew up that. You can slide the economic scale up and down, but that's
Mm-hmm.
how folk grew up. Somebody was talking principles. Somebody was supposed to be the stability in the home.
Yeah.
There were squabbles, but it worked itself out. Kids got, goals and ambition. And in the 60s, we had a whole bunch of black folk in college.
And you had married black people. You had married black couples with families. Before all this love revolution, this free sex, whatever y'all did back
Free
then,
sex,
it
free
changed everything.
love,
And
love
Dr. Tim Leary
power.
with
And
the
now we talk about, give
LSD.
me some love, man. I don't want any goddamn love on your ass. I don't know you. Do your part, man.
Man, we
Homeboy.
so weak right now, Judge. I ain't gonna lie to you, Judge. I met a sister, a beautiful woman. She's a fan of the show. She loves you, Judge. She said, "Where are the real men?" She works in the airline industry. She go to Africa and Europe. Where are the real black men? And where are y'all? Like she just loves. I mean, I know what I'm saying. It's like, where are the brothers that stand for something that won't back down?
Yeah.
Because black men are needed. Black hetero males are needed.
See, I saw some of these brothers who were older than I was,
Mm-hmm.
and don't judge black men by what you see from the civil rights movement.
Right.
There were a whole lot of black men that wouldn't participate in civil rights because it's like, I ain't anybody hitting my ass. You raise a hand to me. You ain't pulling anything back.
Mm-hmm.
You had some older brothers, older then, who had been in World War One. A whole lot of them had been in World War II in Korea, and they didn't play that.
I hear you, but I just look at we had this experiment where I can't name one great black female mayor in the history of this country. I can't name one. I can't name one, but I name several black mayors. You might not like them, but they made they mark. Black men mayors, not
Washington,
women. I can't name one. But
Harold
name me one black
Washington,
woman that founded a town in America. I can name several black men who founded black
okay,
towns for black people.
Tom Bradley,
Right.
Harold Washington.
Coleman Young, you can name a lot. Maynard Jackson, even Andy Young.
You can gonna add Joe Brown to that list one
Joe
day.
Brown, yeah, Marion Barry. Yeah. But I can't name one black woman. And Baltimore had like 3 straight in a row or something like that.
It's a trend. See, it's pushing the feminist agenda, and the feminist agenda is interesting. They don't care where it comes from, whether it's black, brown, red, yellow, pink, purple. They just want it to get people used to the idea.
Hmm.
And I think what's going to save everybody is these trannies who are undoing what the feminists wanted to do. They wanted some of these scholarships that all of the male athletes got. They got the chance, and now still going to male athletes. They just the sissified ones. And yeah, I said sissy. And that's in response to something some fool tweeted to me last week. He said,
Mm-hmm.
what are you going to do if you run into a whole group of these special folk who catch you in a back alley?
What the hell?
I'm going to say, I'm going to release some frustration and tension.
You better be John Wick on them, huh?
Yes.
Not medieval, but John Wick on the ass.
Yes. And if all else fails, somebody's going to Valhalla with me.
Man.
In the second place, why would I be in a back alley someplace?
That makes sense. And please, people, Judge, you don't have no forwarding address. The people can send me your fan mail. I don't want to. Judge, don't send no fan mail for Judge at my PO box, man.
Just think good thoughts, so it will go cosmic.
I don't want to open it. I don't know what's in it.
But you see, at this point, I'm not even doing this for myself. I don't have anything. I don't need any more money. I mean, people know me. You know, I don't need that. I just have had this lifetime of dedication to the cause. It got rammed into me from as early as I can remember, your duty to your people.
Mm.
So I'm not dead yet, and I'm in a better position now to do something about what happens to the people than ever before. And that starts with black folk, but it includes black, brown, red, yellow, white, whatever in the hell it is. It's humanity. And besides, there are a whole lot of white looking folk that are passing for white. There are a bunch of Asians that got some black in them. There are a bunch of black folk have Asian and white. There are a whole lot of brown that got every kind of something up in there. So it's all about orientation. And I've made myself wise enough by diligent inquiry to find out what reality is. So when I'm looking at something, I get an idea of what I'm looking at in totality rather than just what's obvious, because what's obvious ain't real. There's a thing called camouflage. Quote here, quote there.
I gotta ask you this. My bald head Jamaican up here and raise some great points. I gotta get your take. I'm thinking this is Hunger Games right now. What about Social Security running out of money by 2034, which I think might be sooner?
When that happens, if it happens, you got to see a bloodletting in Washington, D.C.
You're talking worse than January the 6th?
January
Insurrection?
6th wasn't shit. There
But
weren't even 200 people involved. Back in the
was that an
60s,
insurrection, Judge, though? Was
they
that an
used to have
insurrection?
3, 4, 5, 15, 20,000 people. They had 180. That's
Mm-hmm.
hype. And it
So that
wasn't
wasn't an
any
insurrection.
disorderly. Essentially, what they did was breaking and entering, trespass,
Mm-hmm.
misdemeanor stuff. Did you see anything get burnt?
Well, did
No.
any VIPs get killed? I ain't see nobody get. I mean,
No.
outside of the protesters that Ashley
Yeah, you
Babbitt
didn't
carried.
see anything get burnt, jacked up, blown up, or anything like that. That was just hype. That didn't even dignify the title of a disturbance.
But
And
are we going?
besides,
Yeah.
look at it in retrospect. Almost every day of the week, 170, 186, 214 people burnt down such and such department stores or grocery stores in such and such town. You got the far left putting those things on. And by the way, the media glorifying and legitimizing that has set the tone for a lot of the insane violence that you're looking at right now. They said it's okay.
Yeah,
As long as it's not for Trump, it's okay.
I'm just looking now, man. I'll be honest with you, the Social Security question, because it's like on my social media timeline more so than even last year. There's a lot of people checking out of here. There's a lot of people dying right now, young and
Yeah.
old. I mean, so is it like a purge or a Hunger Games or thinning of the herd going on right now because of how extreme everything is right now?
No, it's not a thinning of the herd. It's just Mother Nature. Anytime you get one species that populates the planet as heavily as humans have, that get around as quickly as humans do, that have as large and rich exchange of goods, material, and people, you set the stage for pathogens, viruses, bacteria, such like utilizing the opportunity to feed on humans or use humans to replicate and increase their numbers. And what with various and sundry naturally occurring mutations, you got a mess. See, in the planetary history, there are some indicated extinctions that did not get caused by weather, did not get caused by food shortages, they got caused by pathogens.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, you have Mbogo, Cape Buffalo, down in southern Africa. 110, 15 years ago, you had tens of millions of Cape buffalo. They were everywhere, huge herds, 10,000 animals in a herd. They
Mm-hmm.
got hit by a pathogen known as rinderpest. Well, it would do stuff like there are 4 animals, 3 animals left out of 10,000 in a herd, all of them dying and stinking. Well, they bred back up, so there's some pretty big herds now, but they don't have genetic diversity. So if there's a slight change in the environment, they may all go extinct because they can't cope with it. And that's just 1 century.
I mean, the survival of the fittest then is all about.
No, it's not just survival of the fittest. See, that is not what it really is. What Darwin meant was, when you talk about survival of the fittest, when you have two similar organisms, the one that has the most viable offspring in the next generation is the fittest. It doesn't have to be the smartest, fastest, most powerful, strongest, or most cunning. It just breeds more. So when you look at that, who's the most successful group of humans in the United States?
Black people, right?
No, we're not.
White people. I mean, but they're not reproducing though.
Dominant race is that's Section 8.
Black
where
women.
They have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 babies by 7, 8, 9, 10 different baby daddies. That's genetic diversity, even if they're dumber, slower, not as enterprising, lack character, foundations. They are set up to breed in adverse conditions, unless it's one of these where they have to support themselves, in which case they may fail.
You're talking
So
black
we're
women,
setting
right?
up for a species-wide extinction.
It's
One of
black
the
women.
most frequent causes of extinction is when the fittest survive very well in an environment and the environment changes and they die off because they can't adapt. This is some scary stuff.
Yeah,
I had it as a minor 55 years ago. It's some scary stuff.
You talking about black women then are the most successful?
No, because there are more white women that are breeding and more Mexican women. Black folks.
I thought white population was on decline though, Judge. I thought they couldn't reproduce. That's why they're trying to stop all this abortion.
No,
like you look at Texas, they trying to stop abortion.
They're still worldwide. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff, and they've got a population that can quickly rebound in numbers if they decided to. But they're so caught up with this LGBT cult, they're having problems. Get rid of that, things might change.
Well, man, I got to ask you
black
about
folk. Our population is going down. This last census says we have a loss.
So should we be happy about the abortion ban then, or whatever they're doing down in Texas?
No, because the bottom line is this thing deals with your environment. What does your environment support? And we don't have what it takes to cause our environment to support as many black folk as we have. We could, but you see, we have a character deficiency. We don't emphasize pay attention kindergarten through 12th grade and it'll be okay. We got all kinds of other stuff on our agendas that does not include that. So we wind up destroying ourselves. We don't play Robin Hood, we play Rip-Off Hood. Rip-Off Hood or Robin Hood. And we don't play the latter.
Well, is it too late for black Americans right now? Is it game over for us?
If we hurry up and do something about it. But we got to get rid of Lizzo because that's a character issue. Got to get rid of Cardi B. That's a character issue. We got to get rid of all of these clowns that want to glorify dysfunction because that's a character issue. We have to start dealing with men and women. Women need to stop thinking of men as their enemies, and men need to stop thinking of women as their bitches. That's because their dysfunctional mamas cause them to think of women as bitches, and they need to love themselves so they can go find somebody to love. But if you're going to love somebody, to hell with the emotion, deal with the obligation. Duty, honor, obligation, responsibility, accountability. It's your job to make where you are a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, morality, and ethics.
So those are some love languages that we need to learn then.
Those are some real love languages. Love, let's put it this way. It's got to do with necessity. And if you take care of necessity, then maybe you have time for love. Run around, love struck, you don't have time to take care of your business.
Yeah, well, they say no romance without finance, right? So you always got to pay one way or the other. They tell me ain't no such thing as free Kit Kat.
That's it.
But I gotta ask you about the Cuomo thing. What was that really about, Governor? What is it about Kit Kat or was it about something else?
What
With the
now?
Governor Cuomo. Governor
Oh,
Cuomo thing.
Cuomo.
Was it about Kit Kat or something else?
Just nothing better to do. Actually, that stuff shouldn't even be brought up in the media.
What about the nursing home deaths though? That happened on his watch during last year. All the nursing
Look,
home deaths.
you know what's really wrong with this picture?
What?
Nobody knows.
Okay.
And everybody's trying to act like they do. And some people say we can't let the public realize we really don't know because they'd all panic. And there are some people that would panic. But the point is, this is new. This is very new. And I predicted some time ago that the death rate in America is going to hit 1.5 million folk.
It's like it's happening now, Judge. I'm just looking at I was on the elevator with a neighbor. She just lost her mom today. I had a high school classmate. She lost both of her parents within days of each other. And it's like all this. I said, this is overwhelming. I said, I gotta get the hell out of here. But you can't run away from death. It's everywhere.
I know. But you see, quit thinking of it as death.
Okay.
You need to think of it, there's some little alien fucking invaders that are microscopic. They need to take over your body to replicate.
Body snatchers, huh? Invasion of the body snatchers.
See, viruses can't reproduce. They have to take over a host cell and turn the cell's mechanism into a replicating device. So we're getting invaded. It's like aliens. Remember the things that would flop on somebody's
I remember that.
face?
Yeah, I remember that vividly. Yes,
That's
sir.
exactly what they're doing, but you can't see them.
Yeah, but how do you trust like the FDA? People say, "Oh, this jab is FDA
It ain't a
approved," but
matter of trusting.
okay.
If you want, you can find out close to what most people that are dealing with being in charge of those industries know. Google papers published for peer review. Now, that means you'll have to do the work in biology to catch up, but you can catch up so you get the raw material. Those research papers will tell you what they claim to have found, the shortcomings in their research that somebody else needs to back up, the indicated avenues of further search and analysis, those things that are not yet knowable, some questions, some indications, and some ideas. And what's going on is people just don't know. So this is a new. See, we have a long-term trust of science, technology, and medicine. We are kind of in a screwed up situation because for 50 years we've had the LGBTQ cult folk poison our understanding of medicine and medical technology. You know what they've been doing?
What they've been doing?
They want everybody to accept this nonsense about fluid gender. But if there is rigorous, hardcore medical science that prevails, people will reject it out of hand because most of medical science rejects it. Maybe 5, at most 6% of the field goes for it. The other 94, 95% say it's BS. So they have to destroy the 95% and get you to go for the 4 to 5%. And that also causes people to distrust medicine. There's another thing too. We have downed bravery and courage over the last half century drastically.
Well, Judge, let me say
55
this.
years ago, we had World War II vets, Korean War vets. We had people who had to get smallpox, craved getting polio and every other vaccine because nobody wanted these diseases. And everybody who was a young person who lined up for a draft board thing, they got all of the inoculations, no choices given. But there were also a bunch of them that we saw when we had to show up for the inoculations in elementary school. We just got our shots, but there were always a small handful in the school that would scream, hollering, shrieking. They have two large teachers hold them on the wall while they got the shots, and they acted like they had a meltdown. I suspect that a lot of people who don't like what's going on now would have a meltdown the old time way, and they're scared of getting shots. Look, this stuff is going to kill you eventually because it's not going to stop. And even if you survive now, as it mutates, people who have survived the old one, 2 episodes, 3 episodes of the old COVID-19 are getting infected by or dying of the Delta variant. And they have two real nasty ones that are out there that haven't really hit as hard as they could. So it's not going anywhere.
But I know I look at the
Going away.
yeah, I'll just look at the American Red Cross website. They're kind of hesitant to taking certain type of people blood with the vaccine, the jab. They got to know which manufacturer that you got your jab from. So they putting delay on that. Not necessarily delaying all of them, but it's funny how they're hesitant to receive plasma or blood from people who have been jabbed. According to them.
Mm-hmm.
So like, is this verify what you're saying though? That it mutates.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. So that way, I have known
set up
people,
for
right?
my third shot Tuesday.
You got a booster shot?
I'm getting I've had the booster. I'm getting the third shot.
I'm gonna wait.
Booster.
I'm gonna see if I can survive 5 years. Just it turns out for everybody.
I doubt that you will get 5 years without catching it. I hope it's not too bad.
I just don't know.
Young and old, compromised and uncompromised people who have survived the Delta variant.
But people still,
that's the worst disease they've ever had in their life.
But people still raw dogging prostitutes, Judge. I don't know. They care about this. People still having unprotected. They raw dogging prostitutes. I don't know when people are porn stars. I don't know people care like that.
People do all kinds of stupid stuff.
Man, this is insane, Judge. I mean, like, these folks, they want me to look, the FDA, they approve foods to make you sick and drugs to make you sicker. How can I trust the folks that say high fructose corn syrup is okay in my cornflakes or in my drink?
How long are you gonna live?
I mean, so they're gonna get you one way or the other, Judge. They say they poison the water, they give you bottled water with chemicals in the plastic of the bottled water. So you fucking even if you don't live in Flint, Michigan, you still screwed.
Look, it's like this.
Okay.
I used to fool around with racing engines at one time. Go-kart, motorcycles, model airplanes, and make them go fast. If you ran them on a mild fuel mixture, it'd last a long time. You could ramp that fuel mixture up to 70, 80, 90, 100% nitro. They'd put out an awful lot of power, but they wouldn't last too long. See, humans are basically functional machines, organic machines. They run off of fuel. Some types of fuel that humans consume are very high energy, contribute to very high functionality, but you don't last too long. It's a matter of choice. Plus, it all depends on what else you're doing. Are you working out every day, several hours a day physically, or are you not? People used to live a long time eating some horrible diets, but that's because they got exercise, lots of vitamin D because they were outside. Nowadays, we sit on our asses and we press buttons.
Oh, dude, I gotta ask you this too, because we just lost an actor, great Michael K. Williams, who played Omar in The Wire, and also Chalky White in Boardwalk Empire. He passed away from a drug overdose. I guess they said he had fentanyl in the drug. And also over this weekend, we lost 3 comedians. One guy, Fuquan Johnson, I believe his name. They had fentanyl in their drugs. So my thing is it a drugs killing people or what they cutting it with killing people?
Let me say this. I never watched any of those shows, so I'm not familiar with who you're talking about.
But I just know,
what I had wrong with me, I got prescribed fentanyl.
Okay.
Had a little bitty stick on about the size of your thumbnail. And that stuff would knock out damn near most pain you could feel for 72 hours. I was under a lot of pain, and I asked the doctors about it. They said, well, since you really have a pain problem, it's not likely that you'll get addicted. It's these people who aren't addicted. If you are not, who don't have this severe pain, if you don't have the pain, 2 or 3 hits and you can become an addict. And it's not a good high. It's a high that makes you feel flat. You say, I need it for the pain, but I don't like it. So 3 weeks before I was supposed to be able to wind down, I just stopped it. And I would say this, anybody who's deep into fentanyl is a high is a damn fool.
So that's what
That
isn't, yeah.
it has all sorts of nasty side effects. It's like Michael Jackson had so many face surgeries, I guess he just never could cut it loose. You had Prince and some other people, they had problems and pain, and somebody just said, try fentanyl. You might have done better with something else. But it is the main cause of opiate overdoses. That
And
is a nasty drug.
so you're a Lovecraft Country guy. So he was the guy who played the
Okay,
father to
Williams
Atticus.
played father of to Atticus in Lovecraft Country.
Thank you, Jersey Red.
Thank you, Miss Real Dana.
Jersey Red. Jersey in the house. Oh, dirty Jersey.
Yeah, well,
Brick
he
City,
wasn't a
Brick
good
City.
character.
Yeah,
He
but
wasn't
he
a
was a
good
great character
character.
actor. He was.
Yeah, but the character he played in Lovecraft Country wasn't cool. I'm hoping that series comes back on. I kind of liked it.
Well, he won't be back for sure, but unfortunately.
Well,
No, Michael K.
hey,
with
how new?
Omar. Rest in peace, man. He's like
About
he had an
they
addiction
got a
problem
new
for a while.
movie. By the way, see Prodigy. Or if that's it, Samuel Jackson, the latest one movie.
Oh, his latest movie? Well, I don't know. He makes so many movies. Hell.
Well, the latest one, I think it's called Prodigy or something like that.
Okay, I'll check it out.
It's interesting. I like those kind of
But you know what
movies.
was interesting about Samuel Jackson? You know, he was a crackhead at one point. He was just out of rehab when he did Alligator or Gator character in Jungle Fever. Just got out of rehab. And he was a crackhead for a minute, and he survived
I
and
bet
is
he's an
thriving.
interesting character.
Mm-hmm. And he went to Morehouse at one point. He was a Panther, I guess, type of dude. He went to Morehouse, got kicked out, whatever. But Samuel Jackson survived. I mean, but for every Samuel Jackson, you have stories like what happened this past weekend with those comedians and also with Michael K. Williams, who was just 54 years young.
That's a shame.
It is.
You know, avoid doing stuff that takes your own life away. There's enough stuff out there that doesn't give a damn about you and acts independently of what you've been doing. Bang, right upside the
Man,
head.
right. But it's life, like you say. A judge, you live in fearless. I see you have no fear. You just out there. You say stuff gonna happen. Stuff gonna happen, huh?
Dying isn't what bothers me. It's dying certain kind of ways.
Mm-hmm.
There are some ways I don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
So that means there are certain things that are an incentive. You know, take me out quickly. Thank you very much.
Mm.
Let me go slowly. Oh, hell no.
Oh, Judge, thank you so much. And I ain't gonna hold you up too long, but Judge, this you want to shout out your barbecue sauce once more?
Yes. Go to jjbbbq.com. Judge Joe Brown barbecue.com. I judged it to be good. You be the judge and check it out. And I think it'll probably be the best barbecue sauce you can buy. And we've got 2 more coming. Hot, and the spicy. This we call the OG.
I got me 3 of those OGs. I'll pass them out very shortly. I think barbecue
Cook
sauce
with
make
them.
about anything taste good. It tastes better. So you
The
hear
B&B, burgers to bones.
yeah, but
Chicken boob to brisket.
and also I got to get
Chili.
you
All
also go
kinds of stuff.
yep, and also you gonna be on. Looking forward to September 19th. I'm a fan of yours as well, but you gonna be on. Let me see if I find it. This coming up September 19th. Judge in the House.
That's here in
Very
Memphis.
yeah, Memphis. So if y'all in Memphis
I
and
haven't
then
heard from these people in a while. I hope they contact me.
oh yeah, well, you know, I guess I'm good. It's good for me to remind you, but yeah, they got this lineup. I know a lot of people want to see you. If you are in Memphis, Tennessee, September 19th, that's a Sunday around 5 p.m. We're gonna go down with the get down with the judge, and I'm gonna be on a panel along with some other people. Like I said, Dr. Carnita Atwater, she's running for governor of Tennessee, the first Black woman I believe to run for governor of Tennessee, and we have some other very accomplished people as well as the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. The host and moderator is Michael Adrian Davis, well-known media figure here in Memphis. So donations are welcome, but if you are in the M Town around that time, get there early because seats will be taken fast.
You know what I hope happens?
What?
Some people don't try to impress the audience with how well they can preach. Let's get down to business.
Yes, sir. You running for mayor? The mayor. It's gonna be interesting. I'm like I said, I'm a fan. I look forward to learning and just from experiencing. But yeah, but it's like it's so weird right now, Judge. You don't know what's gonna happen between now and whatever. It's just a lot of anxiety. People are very anxious right now. A lot of
Well,
stress.
you know, they should have thought of this 10, 15, 5 years ago, raising their children.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too late to think about it with their grandchildren or the next round.
We'll see, man. It's like I said, but I
People
feel like
running around talking about gun control, but the police can't protect you from being murdered. So who protects you? Yourself. So why should you give up your armament because they're fools who run around don't knowing how to use it? Plus, they aren't giving it up. So let's start dealing with focusing on character instead of band-aids. We need to make it very unpopular to play Wreck Your Hood rather than Robin Hood.
yep.
Don't
That's about
wreck
it.
your hood, play Robin Hood.
Don't wreck your hood,
Don't
play Robin Hood.
necessarily play Robin Hood, improve your hood.
That's right.
Don't clown your hood, respect your hood. Respect your hood, respect your manhood, respect womanhood, respect childhood. Get it together so we get a better hood.
And speaking of police, Judge, I got to ask you about your thoughts about the Elijah McClain case up in Colorado and also the Ahmaud Arbery case, where they're try to
Elijah
prosecute him now.
McClain, let's see, I think the maximum that somebody can get for that is 5 years. That's the one where he got wrestled down another chokehold and the medics
Yeah.
gave him some. Brother, that happens so often. Everybody that's involved is a first offender, and under their sentencing guidelines, they're supposed to get some form of probation. So people are hollering about they want somebody to do life in the penitentiary. That's not going to happen. You need to find you a lawyer that's been trying some cases who will get you a good settlement or go to trial and get a bigger settlement. You don't need somebody who has been doing nothing but settling cases who gets chump change settlements. Speaking of which, the largest jury verdict in American history was obtained by Willie Gary almost 40 years ago. He's a black man from Florida. 40 years ago, it stood on appeal at $750 million.
But he's not a
We've got,
household name, though. That's the problem.
yeah,
He,
but Willie Gary is household if you're in the law.
that's true,
He
but
has,
more people,
he
more of us
has,
know
he
about Ben
has,
Crump Judge than do about Willie Gary.
oh,
Like he's
that
a
don't even count. That don't
the
even
world's
count.
upside down, Judge. You
That
know
don't
that
even
already.
count. Willie Gary settled the top 5 settlements in American history. He's got 3 of them. He's got the largest jury verdict in American history, and I think 4 of the following 10 largest jury verdicts in American history. We're talking about hundreds of millions. And the bottom line is most of these cities have insurance policies that pay out $250 million. So you need to come up with big money if you're going to start bragging about it. You see, if you don't, I know as a trial judge and as a lawyer, if you don't try cases, you don't settle cases for much. The fact of the matter is, if you go in and kick ass in a trial, they say, no, we don't want to deal with this man. He'll go over our insurance limit.
So I mean,
And
like,
by the way, you know what Willie Gary got $750 million off of 40
what?
years ago?
What's that?
Because some funeral homes mishandled some dead bodies.
So other folks came and enjoyed the money. He got them paid though. But what?
I'm
Okay,
just saying.
but I would hope that Crump would.
Willie Gary has probably recovered several $billion personally in judgments or settlements. He's semi-retired, but lawyers, you need to contact him and get him to show you how it's done.
You know what? Well, I was about to say,
He tried many cases, and he was a dynamic trial lawyer. Preacher, too, for that matter.
Well, you got to be dead to be, yeah.
Get somebody that'll try a case. And, okay, brother's been settling the case. If that's what you want, fine. But find somebody that can kick behind in a courtroom.
I would hope that Ben Crump have reached out to Willie Gary because he's trying the Johnson & Johnson on the baby talcum powder causing cervical cancer. He representing that group of black women on that. I would hope he would reach out to somebody like Willie
How'd
Gary
he
for
come
wise
out on
counsel.
that? Did he try it?
Not yet. I mean, it's in the process of, I guess they filed a suit with it. I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to be tried in court, but I will hope that he'll reach out to somebody like Willie Gary or even you. Somebody like that.
No,
I mean, that's for counsel, though. I'm just somebody like for consultation.
I'm not even going to do that. That's too much foolishness.
That's too much. Well, I hope he will reach out to Willie Gary then.
Willie Gary is out there. Maybe he'll come out. There's some other people out there, too.
I know he got his own law practice, right? He got partners.
One thing I don't see in lawyers, and this is a word up to anybody listening to the lawyers, do your internship in your residency. That means get on with the public defender's office or the DA's office so you learn how to try a case. You don't know how to deal with law until you have learned how to deal with a jury, because it doesn't make sense what you've learned in law school until you have. Too many lawyers, and some of them that have been out there for a while, they talk it, the nonsense. Now, you listen to them, well, it's clear that this is a case of so and so and so and so. No, it is possible that this is a case. No. So you have to convince 12 people and a judge. And what you're saying is because therefore they may not see it that way. So you have to deal with it, may be, possibly, perhaps, for the following reasonable, logical, rational reasons, which you should consider or take that way for perhaps the following. So you have to think like that. You have to come up with anecdotes. You have to be able to be comfortable with putting that performance on so you can convince each and every member of the jury to go along with you.
That makes sense, Judge. And also, I want to shout out Black Mama. She said she brought several bottles of the judge's barbecue sauce. It is wonderful. Want to order more for sure.
Thank you, sister.
For shows. Beautiful Black Mama. Always supporting B1. So also Dana, she's gonna have you on her show this Thursday, correct? Dana with the data.
And we're gonna do
Jersey
something
Red.
different too, Miss Dana and I. We're getting into Formula One racing.
Lewis Hamilton on.
Yes. They're trying to do the brother. He was in the lead for the championship. Now he's 3 points behind because a week before this, they had a race that got rained out. They should have given everybody's money back. He qualified second. They
Mm-hmm.
had a good chance to win the race, so they took out a safety car and they ran 2 laps under the safety car in the rain and then called the race. So that meant that the first man on pole, a 23-year-old Dutchman named Verstappen, won the race according to that rule and got half points since they only ran 2 laps. And Hamilton got, instead of 21 half of 25 points, he got 1 half of 18, which is what it is. So now he's 3 points behind. They've got 9 more races. Ferraris have, well, Red Bull, which runs a Honda engine, is having some problems. But Lewis Hamilton is 7 times world champion. He's 36 years old. He's won more races than any other driver in Formula One history, has gotten more pole positions than any other driver, has taken pole, led every lap in the race, won the race more than any other driver. He's got more fastest laps than any driver in history. And Formula One either goes back to 1949 or 1984, depending. And the irony of it is he's the #1 driver for Mercedes-Benz, which used to be sponsored by the Nazis and Adolf Hitler before World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So taking what happened in the 1936 Olympics and Adolf Hitler and then comparing what's happening on a racetrack. By the way, the car he drives is supposed to cost $28 million.
Wow.
He is Sir Lewis Hamilton. He got knighted by the Queen this year. And before you want to badmouth him is irrelevant. This is the closest thing to a gladiatorial contest they have in the world. The cars can, some racetracks, get up to 240 miles an hour and routinely hit curves at 180 to 190. And there have been a whole lot of drivers that have been killed. So anytime you strap on a car and you go racing, you could die.
Oh man, so he a badass. He look at death right in the face.
Yeah, in other words, you hitting 190 miles an hour, 210 miles an hour, and you could die anytime you got behind the wheel from your own mess up, somebody else's mess up, a plastic bag blowing from the stands across the track, a broken part. You're a real badass. This isn't like you going out to play basketball where the worst thing is likely to happen to you is a sprained ankle.
Well, you know what?
So
I
this
think
is a guy who looks death in the eye every weekend for
I think people
22 races out of the year.
yeah.
And he practices the rest of the time.
But I just think like with Lewis Hamilton, he getting that black tax. Like he's just too good for his own damn good. It's like with Simone
That
Biles
may
or
be.
Barry Bonds,
With,
even Barry Bonds. I mean, his greatest Barry Bonds was 7 MVPs. They still can't give him no due,
yeah.
man.
But the bottom line is he does not hold, he's not tied for the record 7 world championships. Bonds wasn't. Nobody but one man has done that. And Hamilton is 3 points behind with 9 races left to go to get #8. He also can sing and play instruments pretty good, and women think he looks good.
Why he's not a household name over here though?
Because we're too damn stupid. See, his daddy from Barbados, but he's an
Okay.
English citizen, so he's raised in England. And his dad worked 3 jobs so he could race go-karts and learn the trade. The last
Paid
guy
off.
that
Yeah.
came in who raced go-karts is Michael Schumacher, who just happens to be tied with 7 world championships. So that's the way to do it. Every other driver on the circuit bought his way into the team by the family, the business, or the driver donating several $1,000,000 each year to the team. Hamilton was the only way that worked his way in.
So I guess it's like the Jordan rules back in the day. You got the Hamilton rules. It's like not written on paper, but they doing things to undermine him. But I just hope that brother gets to that goal and he just shattered the whole thing
Well,
up.
let's
Instead,
look
it's
at it
so
this
high.
way. For 80 years, Mercedes has been known as Silver Arrow. The Silver Arrows. They're black now. You know why?
Why?
Hamilton said you're going to paint them black out of sympathy for what's happening to black Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what happens with taking a knee in the NFL?
What?
All that protest. Every
Mm-hmm.
race, before the race, every single race driver takes a knee in solidarity with black Americans.
Mm.
Thanks to Hamilton. He's setting up a diversity program so more black folk can get into the richest sport in the world. He has
So,
already.
so instead of us trying to hype up Little Nas X, we should be hyping up to get behind Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. Lewis Hamilton is 5'6" and 145 pounds.
Okay.
5'8", 145 pounds.
He probably knows some martial arts too. He's like he's the most interesting man in the world the way you sell
Yeah, he's got a jet plane. He's got yachts and lots of ladies, and he lives in Monte Carlo.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's yeah, he's the most interesting man in the world, but we don't know about him. That's unfortunate.
Well, look at this. He's won the American Grand Prix 7 times.
Mm. You need to get him to endorse your barbecue sauce, Judge, because people out there get so good. Shout out to Black Mama. She says her daughter putting on everything, and somebody just ordered a case from Oakland. So thank you, Black Mama, for the donation. We love you madly. But it's like your barbecue sauce is really hitting the people. Maybe Lewis
It's
Hamilton,
good.
you should give him a case of that. See if they help him.
The product's good. By the way, his first year in Formula One, he tied for first place. They didn't award him first place because the guy that tied him, who was experienced and a 3-time world champion, won more pole positions. So under the rules, he got the championship.
Yeah, they messing with that brother, man. But I think he got his eyes on the prize. Like he's very well focused. He's kind of like
Spirit Hawk says, I followed Hamilton since 1994.
Mm-hmm.
See, in other words, there used to be a big thing about black folk didn't have the reflexes to handle fast machinery.
Right.
We talked about Harry Truman and the 332nd Airmen in the 1981 executive order integrating the armed services. And now here's Hamilton. It either goes back 1934, which is, almost 80 years ago, or it goes back 71 years ago to 1949. And here's a guy that holds every record, and he's black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what's interesting? Like, people talk about Hitler and them, how they disrespected Jesse Owens. He said they didn't disrespect me. He said who disrespected me was Franklin Roosevelt in the White House. When I won 4 gold medals, they would not invite me to the White House. It wasn't Hitler that disrespected Jesse Owens. It was his own country. I've been studying these Nazis, Judge. They interesting people. They some interesting, wicked people. But they had a method to their madness, though. That's the thing.
They did.
And they had support from people over here in certain places and spaces.
They did.
So we need to look at history, though. We need to study this stuff because it's happening again.
Yeah, and you can
see the Fourth Reich.
This time, instead of from the far right, it's LGBTQ.
But the Nazis were Democrats, though, Judge. Were they not the Democrats of Germany?
LGBTQ. By the way,
they had the brown shirts.
National Socialist Workers Party. Who were they?
The Nazis. They're the Democrats, right? And also the brown shirts with the LGBTQ.
German National Socialist Workers Party. But you know what? I had a Russian professor, Soviet professor, 55 years ago. She at one time had been in charge of propaganda for the NKVD. That was the predecessor of the KGB. She said America's in grave danger of becoming fascist, not from some goose-stepping, jack-booted wearing right-wingers, but from some love child, long-haired hippies who, in the name of doing good for you, will impose the worst totalitarianism upon you. And that's exactly what we're getting. Free speech is in grave danger.
You said that, I was thinking about Charlie Manson. People don't know that he was a songwriter and a musician. He used to hang out with Dennis Wilson, the Beach Boys. But he said to his dying day that he was a product of the CIA. And I think about Dr. Timothy Leary with the LSD and all that stuff. And I think about Berkeley. You know, they set out in Berkeley with all that. I mean, this is weird. I mean, the hippie is a government invention, like the hood rat. They both government inventions, the hood rat and the hippie.
I think
They
what
don't exist
happened
in nature.
I think what happened is there was a coalition about 55 years ago that came together. There were the lesbians that hated men. There were the feminists that hated that they weren't men. There were the gays that loved men but didn't know what to do about being a man. There were the dorks, beta boys, soy boys, whatever you want to say. They hated the fact that they couldn't act like real men. And they joined together. And then there was this element that was anti-war that said war was a man thing. So the way to stop war was to change the way boys were raised to men. They took over entertainment, news. They got control of politics. They got the toe in the door with finance. And now they have spent a half century propagandizing people to deal with their way of looking at things. They are imposing a suppression of free speech. Now, to give you a perspective, the Nazis started trying to get into power in 1920. World War II started 19 years later. They took power politically in 1933 and took over the government and imposed their propaganda between 1933 and 1939. That's 6 years. These clowns have been in charge of the propaganda for 50 full years.
Yeah.
And you see, it's been seeping in. They have glorified dysfunction, so it gets on the top of your head, it sinks down. Every black hero is a thug, a drug dealer, or a murderer. You know, the real men, they're looked at as kind of crazy. And they idolize all of these soft, effeminate types. Most horror movies now would not last 5 minutes if some of the characters acted like men.
Just, I gotta ask you, what do you think about trying to move or removing the feminine males off their media, off their TV?
Good idea.
Yeah.
They have enough feminine females who can take up the slack. We need to start. See, being a man is awful hard. It's harder than being a woman. A woman has physical constraints and circumstances that are hard. Most women that go through them because they birth children or they can. Being a man means when the shit hits the fan, you got to be there. That means when the Titanic is sinking in the icy water after the iceberg, you got to say, after me, ma'am, take my seat on the lifeboat. I'm going to drown so the children can be saved. That's hard. And
even trans women got to do that. What about trans women? Like, hey,
go
about
feed
trans
them
women?
to the sharks so the fish stay on the other side of the boat.
Oh my God. Okay.
If he wants to get up and say, I've thought about this, I'll do the right thing, you got to see. More power to him. That's what men do.
Yeah, but you're right. But they not like with black men. A lot of black males. I remember this guy named Brother Polite. He's in trouble right now. But he was talking about when he was out in Hollywood, that a lot of black males pretend to be gay because they can't make it as being hetero straight black males in
See,
that
when
industry.
you're hetero, it's man against man. When you're gay, you're just another hole to screw.
Yeah. It's just weird though, Joe. It's a weird
Now,
time to
there's
be.
some, see, I'm not just saying homosexual. Let me clear that up. Some homosexuals are badasses. Look at Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great, amongst the more notorious. I'm talking about this LGBTQ cult. A lot of gay folk don't even like LGBTQ. See, LGBTQ has got some unholy alliances with these trannies. Yeah, you know, like one gay dude told me one time, last time I was shooting out in Hollywood on a project, he said, I like guys. I don't want somebody faking it. I ain't right to fake it. And then the other thing is you can still act a man. Too many people run around here primping and simping and don't know how to act like a man. And plus, what you do in your bedroom is your bedroom business. You don't have to broadcast it to everybody else.
Yeah. That's true, Joe. I mean, you hitting some. I can't
And see,
disagree with
these
that.
trannies are going to destroy this thing because it's like, again, these feminists were had a point. All of these boys got their college educations paid for by being athletes. It wasn't fair to exclude girls from that. Now they got boys getting what was supposed to be for girls.
Right. Well, Judge, I want to thank you so much. I mean, what's the best way for people to reach you if they want to get in touch, besides trying to send you fan mail that you're not going to accept?
Well, they can call you, or you can see if you can get me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Judge Joe Brown TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not have a blue check. Sometimes I'm on Parler. I've got a name on Instagram just so I can see what's going on, but I don't participate and I don't do Facebook. Facebook and Instagram are too caught up with Big Brother, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing Instagram and Facebook, you're doing some elements of the U.S. government. You're also doing some very nasty things to your free speech rights.
Yeah, because I know they'd be suppressing me. I know Facebook told me that I was violating community guidelines for wishing people happy birthday last week. I said, what? Kind of weirdo stuff is this, man? I'm
That's
wishing
just
happy birthday.
because if you are on their list and somebody has a complaint against you, it doesn't make any difference what the complaint is, they'll violate you.
Mm-hmm.
We need, as a people, to take them on and get them declared to be a public utility. The same basis that resulted in all of these light, gas, and water companies being declared utilities exists for them. And it doesn't make any difference if they're private enterprise. That's BS.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, Joe. I thank you so much for your service to the community and for standing on your square and stuff. I know it's not easy. Like you said, it's not easy, but we're here to promote manhood and protect womanhood by any means necessary. Oh, yeah. Oh, you said not by
Hey,
any means.
whatever I can do. You got to do is you got to do. There's some necessitations. Hey.
That's right, Judge. I
Hey,
want to thank
man,
it.
you got to be down with the cause, man.
That's excellent. Well, so we love you madly, Judge. You keep on take care of yourself. Keep on doing what you're doing. Is of course producing and producing. I mean, producing and pushing. And we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Vato, man, it's got to do what you got to do, man.
I appreciate you, Judge. Thank you so much, man. And y'all buy that
Right.
barbecue sauce and Judge Joe Brown. Get down with Judge Joe Brown and 20. What was it? Why you say it, Judge?
JJBBQ.com. Go there. Get you
All
some.
right.
You'll enjoy yourself.
Oh yeah, it's like people
Amaze
really
and
enjoy it.
daze your friends. Say, that's some good stuff, man. How you do that?
That's right. How you do that there? Thank you, Judge, so much. You take care of yourself.
All
And
right,
thank
sir. I'm out of here.
yes, sir. And thank you, family, for tuning to another wonderful, edutaining, infotaining edition of We All Be News, Radio, and TV's News Free Dixie for the 21st century. And I promise I'll be doing some more shows this week. I just been behind on some things, and it's been a crazy, crazy, crazy time to be alive. But I just want to give y'all that, Judge, and thank everybody who's been supporting, been donating, and also buying Artivist gear or buy Artivist art, r2c2h2.com. Got the Judge Says Man Up shirt on. It's Man Up Monday. You get that. Go below the description box to our Teespring official account. Access there for all the latest t-shirts and designs and whatnot. Thanks Sister Heard out of Middle Tennessee for sending your donation and for also buying a whole bunch of shirts this past weekend. We love you madly and thank everybody who donated today on here as well as in Cash App. All you all, we love you all because knowledge is the currency of the universe, but I still got to pay my bills and keep the lights on and keep it moving and producing and pushing and stuff like that. So thank you all to the moderators as well. Everybody, phenomenal job. So how much are the shirts? They up in the, like, 25 up range, by $25, $27. Fluctuates, but they good shirts and they got a good policy on, if you got an issue with your shirt, it's easy to return the shirt and stuff like that. But thank you all. You could cash app your support, $ R2C2H2, Google Pay, PayPal, or Zelle your support at R2C2H2 at gmail.com. And you can Venmo your support at R2C2H2. So thank you all once again. Let me read these. Cause Judge has a way with words, and I'm just going to read something you heard from Mr. Hurd. Disclaimer. I'll get on my business. Oh, it's been crazy right now. Disclaimer: the views expressed by host and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support. Thank you all once again. Words of the great Duke Ellington. We love you madly. Y'all keep on producing and pushing. One love. Thank you.